Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So I hope that everyone is now inside our Zoom. So while Nat is preparing to go live. All right, so we're live on Facebook. Good afternoon, everyone. Magandang hapon. We are currently now live on Facebook and on Zoom. Let me now check how many participants are in the Zoom room now. So currently we are at 29 attendees, and hopefully we're going to reach our usual number. So that's going to be around 75 to even 100. So if you're currently in, please make sure that your chat preferences are set to send to all panelists and participants because I can see some of the chat are being sent now. Okay. So let me check the chat there. So I have Mary Ann Aragon. Good afternoon, watching from Pampanga. So we're getting a lot of people, the usual, not only from Luzon, but we have a lot of participants coming in from Visayas and from Mindanao. So while we wait for the rest of the people, the expected number of people to come filing in, I'll just go and read your chat. Jason Rejano, hello po from Batangas. Hello, Jason. From Alma Castillo, hi po. James Kenneth, alalo to all panelists, says, good afternoon po from Bulacan. So far, ang dami na natin. And of course, we have here John. So thank you, John, for also greeting the number of people who are already here. Again, we are on Chillax episode 7. And I hope that the majority of the people here have already watched the first 6 episodes of Chillax. There are a lot of things that our facilitators and our subject matter experts, our resource speakers have shared and provided more context, of course, with regards to the things that were discussed during that week's Learn from Home. Yan, I'm seeing now Lorna Humaran coming in from Davao City. So that's really good. So I think we can launch the demographic poll so that we can have a good view of the background of people who are in here. So the poll would have 3 questions. The first one would be, what type of talent development practitioner are you? The second is, where are you calling from? And then the third one is this your first time in PSTD Learn from Home series? And then after this demographic check, I will be moving to give you a background of what we're going to do here in Chillax. Good afternoon to you too, Mark from Panabo City, and from Maria Criselda coming in from Silang, Cavite. Okay. We also have Janet coming in from General Trias, Cavite. So medyo madami tayo that are coming in from Cavite. So Nat, if you are ready, just publish the results of the poll. Okay. So we're having, thank you, Nat, we have 75% of the people who responded are educators. So this is a recent trend that we've been seeing with PSTD, that we're getting a lot of teachers, not only from the secondary, but also from the tertiary levels. And then, of course, we have people who are in the HR profession. We have consultants, more or less coming in from the learning and development consulting. And we have managers and executives. The majority of those who answered are coming in from Luzon. So medyo hindi natin na-capture yung responses from Davao. And then, is this your first time in the PSTD Learn from Home series? Aba, medyo madami ngayon. So usually medyo lopsided yung responses natin dito, overwhelming in no. But right now we have 10 responses, about 42% of the total demographics for this session who answered yes. So this is their first time. So no worries, we're going to give you a brief background of that, of our session for today. So let me move to the very quick reminders. So this is going to be the norms, the practices that we're going to observe in the next hour. The first one would be, as you will all notice, attendees will be on mute to manage the flow of information. But seeing as this is Chillax, of course, we will be giving a lot of airtime for our participants today. So just stay tuned, and then we will be unmuting you if you have any questions later. The second one, speaking of questions, you can see in the control panel of your Zoom application, there's going to be a Q&A tab. So there's going to be the chat box, and then there's going to be the Q&A tab. So if you have any questions, please direct them to the Q&A tab. And if you want to share your insights, the comments, the chat box would be the good one for you to put it in. So that's going to be the reminders for this session. Now, I would like to officially welcome you to Chillax with PSTD. Chillax stands for Chill Conversations and Actionable Insights. Basically, we have 4 objectives. Yung una nating objective would be to recap major learnings from this week's free webinars. The second one is relaxed and open kwentuhan format in Taglish. And I'm pretty sure madaming kwentong ma-share sa atin yung dalawang panelists natin for today. The third one would be tangible and localized examples of concepts from the sessions. So it's very interesting because we had 2 regional speakers. So it's a good opportunity for our panelists to put them in the local context. And then of course, pang-apat, as I mentioned earlier, we will provide more airtime conversations with the audience. So make sure that you put your questions in the Q&A tab. So I'm sure that people are now very excited to know who our panelists are for this afternoon. But before that, let me just give you a quick background of the 2 Learn From Home session talks that we had for this week, because ito yung magiging basis ng conversations natin this afternoon. First, we had Bobby Galvez of Gunung Sewu Group, Indonesia, who talked about lessons learned from managing a corporate university. I think that was last Monday. And then we also had the second one, this was last Thursday, was Kevin Fung of Leadership Pipeline Institute, Manila, who talked about leadership pipeline development. So from there, you can see ano yung magiging context ng conversation natin. Managing corporate open university, and second would be leadership pipeline development. So before I introduce our panelists, let me go back to the chat. Kasi nakikita ko medyo tuloy-tuloy. Madami yung mga responses na lumalabas sa ating chat. And then I'm also going to check how many are we right now. So we are currently at around 50 participants. Okay, so that's very good. And so that we want to help na ma-energize yung dalawang panelists natin for today. So if you are ready, can I all invite you to raise the level of energy in the room? Go back to the chat and then type in, I am ready, para ma-hype up din yung ating dalawang panelists that are waiting and very eager to share their insights. Okay, I'm seeing their chat. Oh, thank you, Sir Egay. Sir Egay is ready. I am ready, all caps. And with all the exclamation points. Yeah. Very, very exciting. So while you are typing in your I am ready responses, let me now introduce to you our panelists. I'll start with the first one. Our first panelist is currently the program designer and facilitator of Inquirer Academy. What's keeping him busy these days would be his 10-month-old baby. And one of the conversations that we had, actually, we heard his baby, very, 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 very cute. So please join me in welcoming our first panelist for the episode 7 of Chillax Conversations. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Allan Gamboa. Please send him a big clap. Hello, Allan. Kamusta? Magandang hapon.
Magandang hapon, Lawrence and Michie. I'm doing well. How's everyone doing? Hope you're all safe and well.
Thank you so much, Allan, for gracing our episode 7 of Chillax. And I'm excited to hear your thoughts and insights for later. Let me go now to the second panelist. And this one is no stranger to the community, because our second panelist is the former head of learning and development of Wyatt Philippines. As I mentioned, no stranger to the community, because she's currently serving as one of the trustees of the Board of Trustees of the Philippine Society for Talent Development. Same as the warm welcome that you've extended to Allan, let us all welcome our second panelist, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Michie Concepcion.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Michie.
Good afternoon, Lawrence, and good afternoon, everyone in the Zoom conversation. Okay, it's a beautiful day today. No, it's not that hot and it's not raining, so perfect for the chillax session.
All right. I agree. I agree. So medyo officially we are now in the rainy season na daw. So
Oo nga eh.
it's good
Ah,
that we're graced no with good weather today. How are
Mhm.
you? How about your week, Alan? How was your week so far?
well, my week was interesting. Well, I did really appreciate the two sessions that we had, no, with Bobby and Kevin. Uh, Very insightful.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you,
Agree.
Michi, again for gracing the episode 7 of
Mhm.
Chillax. Now that you mentioned that we were able to catch on Bobby Galvez's corporate university talk, we're now going to open the poll to start with, and then ask our participants right now, who currently we are at around 54, 55. Does your organization currently offer a corporate university? So if you are affiliated right now in a corporation or a startup, regardless of its legal structure, please answer, does your organization currently offer a corporate university? Because this would have a direct, no? We're going to transition this to the first question of our session. So you can answer that yes or no. For our friends who are in Facebook Live, it's also we're also encouraged that you participate. But of course, we still have a lot of room in our Zoom room. So the link will be on the PSTD Facebook page, so you can jump right in. So if we're gonna hit around 60-75%, perhaps we can boost the poll now, Nat. Okay, no. An overwhelming no. 86% of our respondents answered no. Their corporations currently does not offer a corporate university. So perhaps after
Mhm.
the insights provided by Michi and Alan, baka magkaroon ng change in the offering that your universe or that your corporation is offering. Now let's go to the first question to start things. Michi and Alan, why is
Hmm.
now a good time to put together a corporate university? Because we know that your background, the two of you have backgrounds in establishing in running, facilitating corporate universities. Perhaps we can start with this question with insights from Michi.
Okay. Thank you, Lawrence. Um, well, that's a poll, no? So a lot have no corporate university yet. But then a lot of companies also are offering corporate universities. In fact, even in the past years, no, it's the best time now that we maximize its benefits. So for those na wala pa, so ang dami rin kasing benefits nito eh, no? So lahat ngayon, it's more personal, no? We have personal computers, we have the mobile tablets, and even learning becomes personal. So having the corporate university allows the person or individual to look for a particular training program. So like what Bobby has mentioned in his session, sabi nga niya, ang daming mga online learnings available that you could choose from. Now, in some companies, okay, so meron din, of course, no, discussion with the line manager and the employees. So it's important that it's aligned with the aspiration of the employee. So when it comes to having that corporate university, so nagkakaroon tuloy ng structure, no? So it's not just, okay, what the employees want or a training program that we could just shove in their throats, no? Hindi naman pwede na ganun lang. So there should be an alignment or coordination between the manager and the employee. So having this corporate university will be empowering the employees or the individual. So ano ba yung mga training programs that's important to me as an employee that would allow me to reach my goals or aspirations. So ang dami na rin kasing mga studies in the past. In fact, in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, some of the skills that are important that we need to learn or that we need to acquire is enabling that digital mindset or the digital learning mindset. So kasi ang dami na ngang mga opportunities. Yes, face-to-face is still important. Face-to-face may still be yung preferred method in terms of learning. But then given the situation now, so ang daming mga changes. In fact, na fast track 'di ba? Yung digital learning, over the supposedly mga 10 years pa yan in the making pero itong during the time na nag-quarantine or nag-EZQ, na fast track lahat. So most of the training programs, so digital lang ngayon, so we have transition to Zoom. So even yung mga return demonstration, so dati kasi 'di ba student and teacher, so ngayon may return demonstration na yung mga students. So ang daming mga opportunities. So I think now is the best time to put up a corporate university.
Thank you so much, Michie. Before I go to Allan, perhaps Michie, we can take a step back since you have had this particular experience of running a corporate university in YF. So for the benefit of those participants who were not able to catch what Bobby Galvez mentioned or how he defined what a corporate university is, can you give us a brief background of how you did it, what it is, and how you did it in YF?
Okay. So for YF, my experience in the corporate university. So I'm just reading some of the messages in the chat box. Sorry, medyo mabilis daw po. So sige, I'll try to slow down a bit. Okay. So what we did when we established the corporate university. So before kasi, yung YF kasi mostly functional training. So geared towards what is needed as part of their jobs. Now, having this corporate university, so again, as I mentioned, nagkaroon ng empowerment yung employees. So what are the training programs that they want to attend? Okay, pero they just cannot attend any training program. So kailangan din may alignment with their line managers. So why do they want these training programs? Why do they want to attend this? So ano yung magiging benefit nito in the future in terms of their career aspirations? So apart from the career aspiration, how will it benefit now their current role? So ano yung transfer of learning na pwede nilang ma-provide dun sa mga colleagues nila? Okay? So, well, sometimes kasi we give training programs na okay, sige, maraming attendees, no? So we invite them to a classroom training. But then meron ding mga special training programs that they request. Okay, so when they request such training programs, so of course we have to align with the line managers. We have to align with the leadership team. So having this, no, so merong mga needs yung mga employees. Of course, the employees are in charge of their own development. So of course, everyone is familiar nung kanina dun sa poll, no, ang daming educators dito. So it's just 10%. The classroom training is just 10%. So the relationship and the experience plays a bigger part or a bigger role. So now having this corporate university, nilagyan natin ng structure ngayon. So what would be the training programs needed by the employee? So there should be a coaching session, or we call it check-ins, no? So ano ba yung mga aspirations? What are the training gaps or the training needs? Diba? So those are the things that we have to establish first. So we're just fortunate in the company that they support itong mga corporate university. So ang daming mga training programs available in our system. So it's internal, no? So apart from the external MOOCs, no? So there are also internal MOOCs available. So for the free sessions, yun, pwede na yung walang approval with the line manager. Okay? But then for the training sessions that they have to pay for, okay, so yan, so kailangan meron ding approval. So there. So, and of course, no, importante rin yung training needs analysis. So as educators, we know this. So ang daming educators during the poll kanina, no? So we should know. So ano ba yung mga kailangan nilang matutukan, no, when it comes to the training programs that we have to enroll them to. Okay, so there. So dun sa corporate university, so ang dami rin yung mga sections. Kasi in a particular company, there are divisions as well, and there are departments. So there are programs intended for, of course, dun sa mga support teams natin. Okay? In fact, even our executive assistants, so meron tayong mga training programs dyan. So we also partner with external providers, no, in giving them programs. Tapos, majority of what's in the university or the corporate university is functional training. Okay, yung functional training, of course, related to the job function of the employee. So whether finance yan or sales yan or whether sa medical field. So there are certain programs that's aligned with their competencies as well. Okay, so that's how we do it. Okay, so yun din, no? We're just fortunate na meron ding naka-establish and very supportive yung mga management, okay, when it comes to this.
Thank you so much, Michie. So from what I'm getting, alignment of the resources of the organization vis-a-vis the competencies that that is required by the organization in putting in structure. So thank you for giving us a brief background of how you do corporate university in YF. Now let me go to Allan. Allan, with regards to this question, so we want to hear your insights. Why is it now a good time to put together a corporate university?
Okay, thank you, Lawrence. I think that right now, when you talk about all the things that are happening, the situation calls for it more than ever. We need it now more than ever. You know, we've needed it in the past. Organizations have needed to put together a more comprehensive and organized, system for people development. But I think right now, given the situation where although the world is getting smaller in terms of connectivity, socially, we have started to veer away from face-to-face interactions. And so therefore, there's really a need to put in place a system, to allow people to have, as Michie put it earlier, to have a more organized approach in learning. So yes, I would say the situation calls for it now more than ever. And then there are challenges in developing people that organizations really face. Of course, people development is often, sometimes put aside. I mean, it's put aside as a secondary priority because operations would be the main priority. And right now, where there is a change in approach, where before, diba, we used to prefer, classroom and face-to-face, face-to-face methods, for learning. Now there's people are veering away from that. It's being avoided. Some companies are really scrapping it altogether. There are some who would like to use it minimally. So given the change in approach, there has to be a more systematic or a more purposive way of getting people to learn. Otherwise, if we just let people direct their own learning without guidance, without following a particular structure from the organization, then the learning might not be aligned. But again, I am reiterating what Michie mentioned earlier. The need for things to be really aligned, for learning to be really aligned. And having said that as well, I think one of the other reasons, the obvious reasons, is that because there's a shift in online learning, virtual learning methods, there's a need or there's a high need to curate online learning. There are a lot of sources out there. If there's no effort to guide or no effort to help, tulungan yung mga tao to really know where they can get the right information, then the learning might not be, again, aligned with what the organization needs. It might not be enough for what the particular role that they're occupying would require, and so on. So having a vast landscape of content out there available online, there is a need to put things together in a more organized and systematic manner that really enables the organization to drive home the key learning that people need to get. So yes, now's the best time. I mean, now's really the best time to put together a corporate university. For those of the people who answered, no, we don't have one yet, now's the best time to put together one. Siguro one thing that I would like to share with you though, don't be overwhelmed with what the term sort of implies. Take it step by step. Be deliberate in your learning. It doesn't have to be a complicated system. We can start small, make small wins. Remember, work in progress. A small step is always better than a comprehensive plan that is not implemented.
I agree. Thank you, Allan. So let me go to the chat. So there's actually one response here coming from Awi. So Awi also gave his affirmation. He said, "True, operations is the priority, but learning professionals can justify the value and relevance of any intervention and its impact on the bottom line. Learning professionals need to know how to do this." So later on, that's a particular theme that we can also delve in. So now we understand that, okay, it's a good time, perhaps the best time, to establish and put together a corporate university. So a good question now, sakto with the transition na meron tayo with the other questions, would be, how can we then prepare our organization to build these capabilities? So one question here coming from Ludes would be, for functional trainings, lahat ba in-house trainer? So since that's one of the facets of blended learning. And how did you grow in-house trainer capabilities? And how did you recognize or award their efforts? So I'll throw this question first to Michie, and then let's hear the insights of Allan. Yeah, I think you're muted, Michie.
I'm
There
sorry.
you go.
Okay. So Ludes. Okay. So thank you for that question. So balikan ko lang si Alma rin kanina. So Alma, okay na ba yung pace natin? So okay na, so hindi na masyadong mabilis. Okay, so there. So for Ludes, okay. So regarding functional trainings, lahat ba in-house? Yes, lahat in-house. Because for a functional training to be effective, all homegrown yan. Because the functional training requires yung knowledge, whether iba-ibang industries yan. So if I may talk about the nutritional or pharmaceutical industries, you have to know your product, you have to know your competition, you have to know your category, you have to know the market. So lahat yan, ideally internal or homegrown. But it doesn't mean naman na hindi tayo kumukuha from the outside. Now, meron lang, syempre, additional learning curve. Okay, they have to know, the new trainers will have to know about the product, will have to know about, again, the competition. So, mas mahaba lang yung magiging proseso. Now, if we want it, as mentioned by Allan kanina, purposive and impactful, so mas maganda, by experience, mas maganda yung homegrown. Okay, because their experience as well, okay, importante. It's not just the knowledge that the knowledge about the product or about the competition. It's about how you engage with your clients, with your customers. So yung mga na-acquire nilang insights, yung na-acquire nilang mga knowledge and experiences, iba rin yun eh. So when they conduct training programs, diba? When they give examples, so mas accurate, mas tangible, and mas realistic. Okay, so there. So how do we now recognize or award their efforts? Okay, so are you talking about the trainers or are you talking about the participants? So two ways, siguro I'll answer both na lang, no? So when it comes to the functional trainings, okay, syempre it's about product knowledge, it's about competition knowledge. So quarterly, we have this parang exams nila. So sino yung nakaka-perfect score. So we recognize them. So in fact, merong pang, of course, make certain recognitions in a particular meeting. So we give out certificates Okay, and we announce over email, so diba? So we give email blast, so that's how we recognize them. And for the trainers naman, so we recognize their efforts as well. So of course, pagka tumataas din yung performance of the employees that they give functional programs to, okay, of course we recognize them. And we also give them certificates. We call it the thumbs up award. So even the manager or coming from the different departments, they can give the thumbs up award. So yun naman, that's how we recognize as well yung mga efforts ng mga trainers. Okay, so there.
Thank you, Michi.
So I hope I answered your question, Ludes.
I'm pretty sure. So if ever, Ludes, you have a follow-up question, you just go back to the chat so that we can raise it again for our panelists. Now, I would like to go to Allan. And perhaps, Allan, this would be good to answer in the context of the services, for example, or experiences in Inquirer Academy.
Okay. Thank you, Lauren. So I'd like to answer actually, sorry, it's Ludes, no? Ludes' question two ways. One, given my corporate experience, and also now in the context of, being with the Inquirer Academy. So first, during my corporate life, when you talk about functional trainings, I'd agree with Menchi. Definitely, it's always best to have in-house or internal trainers. But yes, there sometimes would be certain situations or needs for you to invite somebody from outside to do certain programs for you. But yes, there's a great need to make sure that this person or these people you will invite to do functional trainings for you there's a need for them to be really oriented, to be exposed. In my previous organizations, we would even require that they even spend time to observe operations and to really understand what's really happening. So that the learning that will be delivered will be more appropriate and will be exactly what people need, or close to exact. Can't always be 100%, but at the very least, it's very, 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 very adapted, or customized for your participants. So, and then how did you grow in-house training capabilities? Back in my corporate life, especially I would cite yung experience ko when I was with the Peninsula Manila, where it's heavy on, of course, hotel, definitely. Heavy on departmental or functional training. So one of the things that I did back then, managing human resource development, was really to make sure that we have we are able to capture information accurately. So every month, departments would send us their plans for what departmental or functional training they will run for the coming month. And then we also take a look at, how they were able to run them. So there's, of course, the evaluations, and of course, checking if they were actually able to run it. Sometimes for some departments, they would have to cancel to give way to operational requirements. And so, given the information that we were able to capture in human resources as to how departmental training is progressing, we then would give certain awards, parang which department or which departmental trainer actually had 100%, all of the planned programs were implemented as planned, and then in terms of the evaluation results, they were all very positive and so on. So you could recognize them, in that way. And then, of course, given that evaluations are also administered to functional training and then captured by HR, they serve as inputs to HR as well as to how we can further hone the skills of these functional trainers. So that sort of answers Lutz's other question: how do you grow their in-house trainer capabilities? And then, of course, there's always a need, no, to not just bank on one in-house trainer. Functional, you're talking about functional training. Don't just rely on a particular subject matter, one subject matter expert. No, develop. Well, I'm in a way, no, parang in the context of talent development and talent management, develop successors as well. No, have other people develop their skills so that if this subject matter expert leaves, you have somebody who can take over. Yeah. So, but now let me answer it also in the context of where we are right now. I mean, where I'm right now with the Inquire Academy. No? So these things, no, syempre, Inquire Academy is a provider. So when it comes to functional trainings, yes, there are clients who would approach us for certain functional trainings. What I mentioned earlier is precisely now what we ask also from clients. We make sure, even before we recommend, even before we send a proposal, we find out first, we validate what is it that you really need, what is driving you to look at this particular program. And then we take time to also observe, we take time to also gather information to really have a full understanding of the client's need. Because we recognize that learning should not be imposed. I mean, it varies. No? It varies per organization. The need of organizations, the need of people will vary, and so therefore, for example, if it's a sales program will, this particular design might work well for this company, but for another company, you'd have to tweak certain things. So the need to immerse ourselves in the client's business, that's one of the things we look at. Now, in terms of touching on in-house trainers, no, I think Inquire Academy, we also make sure that if the client wishes to develop, we have some clients kasi na immediately they will tell us, oh, we will get you to do this for us, pero we'd like you to develop these 3 people kasi we want them to echo this program to the rest of the organization. That helps because we know who to focus on. So there's going to be, sort of guidance that we can do. No? Ayan. So what else? No? So growing 3 in-house trainer capabilities, and then recognize, that's more of internal now. No? So there. So having said that, siguro just to also, again, put things to context, so the Inquire Academy, because I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of providers out there, definitely the Inquire is one of the reputable ones you can really bank on. I think the name speaks for itself.
Thank you, Allan. So it's very good, no, na currently ito yung kagandahan na nakikita natin with Chillax, kasi when we had the conversations during the Learn from Home series, we were presented with corporate open university, and for many of us, especially for educators, for those that are working in the HR profession, very abstract, diba? Parang this is something that we want to have, we want to do, we want to roll out, pero how do we operationalize it? Ano ba yung mga kailangan namin tignan? And it's very good that we had Michie and we had Allan to put things together and put it in the local context and put it in something na nagawa na in the past, and something that we can really take their insights on and perhaps raise it within our own organization. So if we see that there is a need for us to do and roll out a corporate university, we had these particular insights. Thank you again, Michie and Allan. And I hope that Ludes, we were able to provide a very good answer to your question. And if there are others, we're still inviting a lot of people. No? We are currently more than 60 plus people. We're reaching 65 to 70 participants in our Zoom room. And while Michie and Allan were sharing their insights, I went very quickly to Facebook, and I'm seeing na medyo marami rin tayong engagements. And a lot of people are watching us through Facebook Live. So please continue to, I have here 52 na currently tuned in. So we have a total of around 110, 120 people simultaneously watching in Zoom and Facebook Live. So please continue sending in your questions because kita natin medyo sobrang ganda ng insights and experiences na napoprovide sa atin ni Michie and ni Allan. Now let me go to the second question. Our second question would be this one pertaining naman to the topic of Kevin regarding leadership pipeline. And the question is, how can we ensure that desired behaviors of leaders in the pipeline are properly developed? So this is in the context of having different values when building or supporting your leadership in the pipeline. One would be skills and competencies. But for this particular question, we would like to zoom in on the behaviors. How do we ensure na hindi naglalag behind yung development ng desired behaviors ng mga leaders in the pipeline? Perhaps we can start with Michie on this particular question.
Okay. So, agree, no? So, we have to keep them engaged. We have to keep them in the pool, diba? Siyempre, yun din naman yung gusto natin ma-achieve, no? When it comes to company, so, to company goals. But the important thing is, it's the discipline and accountability. Okay? So, hindi lang, kumbaga, parang, okay, so you attended the training program. So, kailangan din, there's this discipline. They have to invest their time. Of course, when they attend training, they have to invest their time. They also have to invest their efforts in sharing this to their colleagues. Now, accountability is both ways. Again, no, so lagi kong binabalikan na yung employee and line manager because yun yung yun yung crucial dyan eh. So we cannot just send people to training programs without the necessary follow through and support from their line managers and of course the leadership team. Okay. So, you know what's good about PSTD then? In one of the sessions that I have attended in DDI, so there's this parang pyramid, no? So there's a certain group of people then that you have to, we call it the talent pool. Okay, so in our company we call it the talent pool. So every month, so merong kamustahan. So just like this, the Chillax session, no, there's kamustahan. So there's also, kumbaga parang an opportunity or an avenue for them to discuss. Okay, ano na ba yung nangyayari? So ano na ba yung standing nila or where are they now in terms of their aspiration? May nabago ba? Okay. So in terms of the managers or the leadership team, so maa-assess din ano. So nagsa-slide back ba or talagang nagpo-progress yung employee? So how do we now keep them engaged? How do we now motivate them? So how do we support them? So those are the things na importante, no? So it's the discipline, the accountability, the follow-through. Okay, so there. So baka si Allan then has something to share.
Thank you. So accountability, no, and discipline. Thank you, Michie. Before I get the insights of Allan, let me read this one from Christina Victoriano in the chat. So according to Christina, tie in desired behaviors with your performance appraisal. That would also mean having concrete, measurable behavior manifestations in place. So it's a very good insight and something that we would also want to encourage the other participants. Since nasa Chillax session tayo,
Yes.
again, it's not only Michie and Allan who are going to share their insights. So we are actively encouraging you to also provide your questions, especially if you have an experience in leadership development. Now would be a good time to put in your insights in the chat. And
Yes,
while you're
thank you,
typing that,
Christina. Yeah, thank you
Christina,
for
yes.
Thank you for pointing that out. I may have missed that. So tama yan. Okay, so it should be tied dun sa dun sa performance appraisal. Kasi nga dapat merong collaboration or coordination with your line manager. So in fact, so the entire organization, that culture of collaboration, so kumbaga yung wala yung blame game, it's more of how can we support you? Okay, how can we help you? So mas importante 'yon. So there.
Yes, shared accountability. Thank you, Michie, and thank you, Christina. Now let's hear it naman from the insights of Allan.
Okay. Thank you, Lawrence and Michino. So I'd like to highlight yung what Christina mentioned. No? Yes, I first of all I'd start with that, no, because definitely when you talk about human behavior, you want to reward the right behaviors. So a good way to reward the right behaviors would be really to embed it in your performance appraisals, your performance management system, no? So that you're sure that the behaviors that are expected will be rewarded if manifested. So yes, I fully agree. So so to answer also your question, Lawrence, in terms of how do we, in a way, ensure that the behaviors of leaders in the pipeline are properly developed. No? So siguro let me answer it two ways. No, parang in the normal or under usual circumstances, and then I guess more specifically where we are right now with the pandemic, with COVID-19. So, under general or normal circumstances, definitely you'd want to make sure that there is clarity when it comes to the expected behaviors. Uh, you want to be sure, I mean, when I say clarity, it has to be documented, has to be written. It's not just communicated verbally, but it's put together, put in black and white, no? That these are the expected behaviors when you talk about particular competencies. No? So this is where your competency matrix or framework would come in. No? If you don't have one yet, you have to start building it. I'm saying start building it because it takes time. Okay? So that's where your behaviors will, the expected behaviors will come in. So clarity, clear expectations. Another way would be to make sure that there's a systematic approach. Make sure that the way that you will approach it will be the same for different functions and so on and so forth, so that there's fairness and it's also more manageable for you as a talent development or talent management practitioner. And another would be the use of varying appropriate methodologies, when you develop people's behavior or people's competencies. Don't just rely on one particular method. Blended learning, in fact, siguro if I may cite, the discussion that was, that we had during Bobby's talk, I think Wednesday, when he asked about which is more effective, is it online or classroom training and so on. So there was a bit of course, varying opinions and varying experiences about it. So, but Bobby put it together very well by saying that, at the end of the day, it's blended learning. That although you have online learning, you have to also mix it with some face-to-face session of sorts, you have to be able to curate, the learning, as you put it. So there are some sessions with participants that are intended to process the learning that they got from the online source. So I'm saying that because, again, there's a need to vary the methodologies that you have. And then involvement of leaders at all levels will definitely be a good, would always help. Now, let me just also look at it in terms of given this pandemic, because definitely what has this pandemic, what has COVID-19 actually brought us? It forced us to change a lot of things. So change is a key word these days. A lot of things have changed. And so when it comes to now the behaviors required from leaders, they will also change. So there may be some changes. And so even if the organization has put together a comprehensive, competency framework, identified all the core competencies, functional competencies, and the behavioral indicators for all the competencies, some of them might have changed. So, in terms of how we will approach it, how we can approach it given the changes that we're experiencing, one would be go back to the leaders. Involve your top leaders. You want to be able to provide them a strong business case. Why do we need to look at people development? Why do we need to make sure that people's behaviors, that the leaders in the pipeline will be developed effectively? Next, again, as I mentioned earlier, it still boils down to clarity, clear expectations. But this time, given the pandemic, given the changes that organizations are experiencing, you'd want to be able to clarify, are we still focusing on the right behaviors? Is our previous, is our current competency matrix still, appropriate? Are there things that we change? And taking it a step further, being more direct with what you were asking, no, Lawrence, are succession plans still valid? Kasi baka dati meron tayong succession plans na, ito si Michie is the potential successor for Lawrence. Pero right now, given the pandemic, baka mamaya nag-iba yung scenario, no? Baka mamaya, and I fully agree with Michie, no? Baka nagbago yung aspiration ng tao. So we need to also look at these things, no? Nagbago ba yung aspirations? Or even when you talk about critical positions in the organizations, baka nagbago rin. Baka may positions na hindi na critical, or baka merong bagong critical position that you need to build a strong talent bench strength for. No? So there. Next would be, of course, you'd have to be able to regroup. No? Once you clarify, once you understand exactly what it is required right now, given the situation, you'd have to regroup, adjust your plans. No? If there are changes to the competency framework or matrix, do that. If you will need to do a second round or a new round of assessments, do that. Or if you need to look at a different way of assessing your potential talents, explore those. No? Do you need to look at new sources? No? As Michie put it earlier, yung talent pool. Do you need to look at your source positions for your critical roles? Dapat ba meron kang i-consider na bago? So all of these you'd have to regroup, you'd have to reevaluate. And then implementation, when we talk about implementation, definitely you have to be effective, efficient, and yet dynamic and flexible. And then lastly, still, effective leadership still is crucial, especially in these times. The role modeling, when you talk about developing the right sets of behaviors, the right behaviors being displayed by the current leaders will be crucial. Monkey see, monkey do, di ba? Parang how is my boss now handling the situation? That's what I will look at versus what was previously communicated. So, role modeling by leaders will still be very crucial, in developing the right behaviors. Kahit na hindi mo muna nabago, na-revise yung competency framework, your behavioral indicators, and so on, at least the leaders who are the incumbent leaders right now, if the behaviors that they are displaying, they are the ones that people down the line will most likely, emulate. Okay.
Thank you, Allan.
Sorry, one last thing.
Sure.
Coaching by the leaders is still very important, especially at this time.
Thank you, Allan. So, very spot on. Saktong-sakto yung mention mo kanina about modeling by the leaders, because we have an affirmative insight here by Evelyn Mendoza. According to Evelyn, modeling by current leaders is important. Behaviors of leaders are the best way to develop future leaders. So nakita natin na medyo nasa-separate na natin yung mga best practices on how to ensure that behaviors are being developed for the leaders in the pipeline. I have here a very good question from BOT Maribel. But before I go to that last question, perhaps medyo engaged talaga yung mga participants natin for this Chillax. So let me spend 1 to 2 minutes to answer, to read their insights and their answer for this particular question. I have here from Christina again. She said, I agree. Competencies need to be updated every so often to align with current business needs. Agility 3 months ago may not necessarily be the same as the agility requirements now. Especially that we're moving in a world where change, everything is very fast-paced. Thank you, Christina. And then from Ludes, make the leaders be part of the Teachers Leaders Guild, giving them an opportunity to share and learn as they teach. They learn, and it reinforces their behaviors as well as they model it for those in the talent pool or successions. And according to Jason Rehano, I think that leaders should be the best followers. So if we're going to segment and put together a team sa lahat ng pinag-uusapan natin, diba, lumalabas kung ano yung mga best practices na pwede nating i-follow, not only on the context of corporate university, but also in developing our leaders in the pipeline. So now let me go very quickly to the question of BOT Maribel. So her question is, if classroom training is only 10% of the learning opportunities, so I believe she's referring here to the 70-20-10 model, to what extent do you use professional coaches to build competencies? So perhaps pwede nating i-zoom in pa to very specific to leadership competencies and the use of executive coaching. Perhaps for this question, we can start with Allan naman. Your thoughts, Allan, on the use of executive coaches.
Okay. So thank you, Lawrence. So when you talk about the use of professional coaches, no, it I'm a little, hesitant to give a particular percentage, when it comes to how much of it, how much reliance would you have on, how much you would rely on professional coaches. But I think I'd like to put it this way, that it will depend on the need of the organization. It will depend on, the needs of your people. I'm pretty sure that, well, when you talk about professional coaches, we know, it will not be very cheap. No? You have to really invest, to have professional coaches, to guide your people. So you'd want to be very direct, in selecting who will actually be guided professionally, coached professionally. So there, so it will really depend. I'm careful not to give a particular percentage. However, I'd like to also cite, though, that in the context of professional coaching as well, for people down the line, as I mentioned, not everyone you might want to expose to professional coaching, but for everyone else, expose them to internal coaches. Have the incumbent leaders, have the current leaders coach and mentor people internally, di ba? Kasi, relatability is something that's very important. So when you are being coached by a leader in the organization, somebody you look up to, somebody who you know is successful, it helps, in being given time by these people, helping you to develop. It really is very motivating and very effective. So yun lang, use professional coaches, but at the same time support that with internal coaching and mentoring.
Thank you, Allan. So we're down to the last 5 minutes, and before we get to the wrapping up and closing statements of our two panelists, let's hear naman the insights of Michie regarding the use and utilization of coaches.
Okay, let me just unmute. Okay, there. So, na-pressure naman ako kay Guru Maribel, nang galing yung question. Miss Maribel. Okay, so two things, no? So when it comes to functional training, okay, so yes, I agree, no? It's 10% as I've mentioned. So follow-through program would mean coming from their line managers, or we call it the area managers, because this is the structure that we have, no, in the company. So the line manager will now coach the employee. Now, there's also a follow-through coaching session with the subject matter expert coming from the learning and development. So before we had struggle, no, to do field work kasi ang dami nila. So we cannot just go on field work with all these participants, no, in the classroom session. So what we did, so we established yung coaching session through Skype. Okay, so we schedule like first hour in the morning before they go on field. So there's a coaching session, okay, among those who attended the classroom training, and then the subject matter expert coming from the learning and development. So meron silang session yan for an hour before they go on field. So it depends, no? Sometimes it's before they go on field or after their work. Okay, so there's a coaching session. Now, the line managers or their area managers will also be coaching them in terms of what they have learned. Okay, and these coaches are also being measured. So it's part of their field work. Okay, so they're also being measured. So what are the training assignments that they have given to the employee? And then after their field work, so they have to assess, or they have to check if their objectives were met, if na-apply ba yung mga natutunan from the classroom training. So they are both being measured and followed through. Okay, when it comes to the professional coaching. So it's more of the leadership aspect. So we, of course, commission external or third-party providers. Okay. So of course, yung mga leadership programs. Okay. So we also conduct them. We also provide them. So that's also part of the coaching sessions, their field work. So what they have learned. Now, when it comes to the management level, no, when it comes to professional coaching, if the employee is part of the top talent pool or succession planning, so we may, of course, have that professional support from, of course, the coaches.
Thank you so much, Michie, and very, very insightful and concrete experiences and examples coming in from the two of you. So now, as we arrive to the tail end and last minute of our Chillax episode 7, may I get 1 to 2 sentences as action items or parting words from the two of you? Let's start with Allan.
Sorry, nakamute pala. Okay. So, siguro some parting words. When you talk about these things, when you talk about corporate open universities, managing the development of leaders in the pipeline, I'd like to say, one, focus on people. Okay? Focus on people. These days, it's very difficult for a lot of people experiencing all these changes and so on. So you need to understand excuse me, where people are coming from. You need to understand what it is that they need and so on and so forth. So focus on people and their needs. But at the same time, don't lose sight of what the organization requires as well. Diba? Hindi naman tayo nasa charitable institution that we're just looking at people and so we all have to survive as well. Organizations need to survive so that they can be there to provide employment, to provide livelihood for people working for them. So it's really both ways. No? So focus on people, don't lose sight of organization requirements. And siguro one last thing na lang, sorry, dadagdagan ko lang. Stay positive, no? Remain hopeful, no? Things will get better. Yun eh. Advocate, inspire people, no? Inspire people, promote positivity, no? In the organization. That's what we all need right now. Sabi nga ng PSTD, no? Hope, di ba? We give hope. Sige.
Thank you, Allan. So that's positivity backed by actions. Diba? And the actions we can come from the concepts, theories provided from the Learn From Home series, and then provided into context by Chillax. Thank you so much, Allan. Michie.
Okay, so yes, if Allan mentioned about focus on the employee, so siguro I just like to reinforce, no, it's to show genuine concern. Okay, so if you focus on the employee, you have to have that genuine concern. Okay, so they have to be engaged. So engagement is the key. But then, sabi nga ni Allan, no, so we're not charitable institutions, so we have to come from the overall plans, no, the corporate plans, no. So dapat yung strategies din ng mga ng company, no, the business strategies or the business outcomes should also be aligned dun sa mga training programs that we'll be providing. So how do we support now those strategies or company strategies or company goals, no, with the training programs that we provide. So so we just have to, of course, keep the employees engaged and we have to show our genuine concern.
Thank you so much, Michie. So tama, no? So very consistent yung response natin ni Michie with our previous speakers then, that they believe that this is again the best time for leaders, well, not only leaders but for everyone to be genuine. Now that we're having problems seeing each other face to face, diba? Minsan na-cut down na yung time of in-person contact. Being genuine is really a premium right now. Thank you, Michie. And of course, this Chillax session would not be complete without the participation of everyone in Zoom, both Zoom and Facebook. So I'm very thankful, I'm very happy, and I'm very overwhelmed with the number of insights that were provided in the chat. So let me just spend a few seconds to mention the insights of Awi, James Kenneth Alalon, Jason Rejano, of Evelyn Mendoza, of Ludes, and of Christina Victoriano. So I know that there are still questions in the Q&A tab and in the comment section. But unfortunately, we don't have the luxury to expound on those questions. But definitely, I'm pretty sure that our panelists would be happy if you could send them these questions. They'd be happy to reply to you either via LinkedIn. So do not forget to connect with Allan and Michie on LinkedIn. All right. So just like that, we're now ready to conclude and close episode 7 of Chillax with Philippine Society for Talent Development. Again, in behalf of the society, I would like to extend our thanks to Michi and to Allan for gracing episode 7 of Chillax. We hope that you also enjoyed the 1 hour of discussion for this particular topic and theme.
Yes.